Hello, welcome everyone to another heart expanding episode of Lucie's Inspiring Stories. Now, today, we're not just talking about business, we're talking about the joy behind the journey, the power of choosing yourself, and what happens when a woman says, there must be more than this. My guest, Mary Gaul, is a visionary, an adventurer, and a soul who turned clarity into confidence and confidence into a movement. I wanted to let you know that Mary walked away from the security of a W 2 paycheck and leaped into a life of purpose, founding not one, but two businesses that now help women solopreneurs find clarity, connection, and yes, celebration. Mary is also the author of Vitamin C3 for Business. I love that. Host of the Leap to she is the host of the podcast Leap to Success podcast and the radiant leader behind Leap for Ladies and Success Magnified. But behind the titles is a woman that leads really with her heart. She walks beside her clients and she builds legacies, not just businesses. Mary, welcome. I'm so honored to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Lucie. That was an amazing introduction. I love the word radiant, and when I hear it, I forget to put it in my marketing materials, but when I hear it, I just love that word. So thank you for using that in my description today.
Oh, you're very welcome. Mary, take us back to the moment you decided to leave your W-2 job in 2013, I believe it was.
Yes, yeah. 12 years ago already.
What was stirring in your spirit then, and what did it take to actually take that leap?
Yes, it really was getting permission from my husband, from myself, that I could do something else, and from a network community that I was in, right? I knew I had outgrown the position I was in. I was managing a law firm. I knew there was nothing else for me to grow into there after 10 years there. I was feeling frustrated, didn't know what my next step was going to be. And I had permission from my husband to say, why don't you consider leaving the firm, right? Look at something else. Do something else that's more passionate about you. We actually had been to see a documentary it's called Chasing Ice. And this guy wanted to measure the melting glaciers and was so passionate about it. He built a business. He blew out both of his knees. I mean, he was just so passionate about doing this. And we had a conversation like, I'm not that passionate about my work. Are you? And so, most people aren't that work in a regular W-2 job, right? And so it really started opening the possibility, like, what could I do where I could be passionate about what I did every day? And I had permission to leave my job that I wasn't so passionate about anymore. And then I had other friends tell me, why don't you start a business? And I was like, what would I even do? So many possibilities opened up, right? And so then it was just a matter of keep curious, keep wondering, and look into my skill set. What could I do? And so I started my first business by the end of that year. We had that conversation, I think it was like January or February of 2013. And I left my job in August of 2013. So, wow. Yeah.
So you had some preparation. Possibilities. Immediately, you had some preparation. You knew what you didn't know what you were going to do, but you knew you were going somewhere.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I love the way you describe yourself as a joy-filled adventurer with sunshine in your soul. I love that.
Yes.
What role has joy, because you talk about joy all the time, what role has joy played in your business journey, and how do you cultivate it, especially on hard days?
Yes, I'm all about celebration. So you mentioned my book, which is Connect, Contribute, and Celebrate. And I think in my work as being an entrepreneur and growing two businesses for the last 10 years and working with all of the entrepreneurs that I get to work with, celebration is one of those underutilized tools that we have in our tool belt, right? And it's sometimes we think, oh, it has to be something big to celebrate, or it's not worthy celebrating, or, it has to be, I have to hit a certain number before I can celebrate. And that's really, in my opinion, the joy and celebration that we can find in every day, in the smallest things. I keep these little clappers. I give them out at my speeches. But
Oh, how
give
sweet.
yourself a round of applause. I use this all the time for myself. Like, yay, I just had a great phone call with somebody, right? Or I got the email sent, or the newsletter went out, right? With no mistakes in it. So you can find little things to celebrate and bring joy into your life every day. And I think that's just such an important way to live your life and grow your business. We have to find those celebration points.
We forget to laugh,
Yes.
These little things, these little wins can make us laugh. And you're right. We always think we have to celebrate the big wins, but it really keeps the momentum growing when you celebrate every little win. And, we have them all the time. Like, you get on the call with somebody and you have this great feeling of connection. It's like, oh, that's a big win.
Yes, it is. Yes.
So, I love the way that your businesses are built around community and celebration.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think so many women solopreneurs struggle with isolation and really, downplay their wins like we were talking about?
Right. I think there's a little bit of imposter syndrome in there, right? Like, oh, I'm not good enough to celebrate this win because there's other people that are doing way more than me. So I shouldn't celebrate this because I'm not at their level. That comparison, the devil of comparison, right? That keeps us in our own shell and not celebrating the things that we are accomplishing. And then I think it's part of the way we were raised as well, is that we're taught not to brag about ourselves, right? And so we can see celebration as part of that, like, oh, I don't want to toot my own horn, or I don't want to be seen as somebody's bragging about themselves, right?
Yeah.
But I say brag away. We need to celebrate all of the things that we are accomplishing.
Yeah, it's really interesting. The women, for sure, for us, we've just been, kind of take it easy. Don't be seen. Don't be, don't be too loud, just be in the background kind of thing.
Yes.
You've said that success isn't about doing more, and I do believe that. It's about magnifying what matters.
Mm-hmm.
How did you discover what really matters for you?
Yes, through my business coach and through the coaching that I received, which inspired me to become a business coach, right? When I first started my first business, I had clients right away. That wasn't the problem. The problem was, how did I scale it past myself? And I needed somebody else to help me see that path forward, right? Even though that's what I had done in the corporate world, help businesses grow, I couldn't grow my own because I was in it, right? And so I think really focusing on what can I do that only I can do in my business? And then what can I let go of? Either can I delegate it? Can I eliminate it? Does it need to get done anymore? Or can I delay it, right? And so really getting clear on what are my skills? What is the unique thing that Mary Gaul brings to the table? And then what can I let go of? And that was such a big shift for me, Lucie. It really, really was. I'm one of those people, like, I like to be really competent and really excellent at what I do. And for me to trust somebody else could do that for my clients at the same level took a while for me to be able to be trusting of they're going to take care of it just the way I would, not necessarily just the way I would take care of it, but in the same level that I would take care of my clients, right? And that allowed me to hire contractors in for my virtual assistant company, and then put in the systems in place so that they can carry on that same level of expectation that I have, but I don't have to be the one doing that work, right? And so that's when you get to work smarter and not harder, right? When you can bring in people that can fill in the gaps of what you're not good at, but you have to know what you're good at first.
And having the GOP, so that you,
yes.
really important. So, wow. I love the way that you built businesses that include retreats and paddleboard networking. I love
that. Yes.
Coaching and community. What part of that lights you up the most? And why I know what lights me up the most is the paddleboard network.
Yes, yes.
I don't know of anybody else doing that.
I know. I get to go tomorrow morning and paddleboard. I'm so excited. It's the 8th or 9th season. I forget exactly. But I realized, again, going back to what lights you up and bringing fun and joy into your business, it doesn't have to be an either or, like this is all business, this is my personal life. We can blend them in together. So I took a course that was all about productivity, which now I teach, called Pinnacle Productivity. And it talked in there about personal time. And I thought, well, personal time is when I'm not working or my kids were still at home when I took the course. So it's not when I'm being a mom or volunteering. It's, the time after everybody goes to bed, right? That's what I thought was personal time. And then they discovered, they really redefined it as personal time is something that re-energizes you, that fills your battery, recharges your battery, fills your cup back up. And it took me a while to think about what that was. Like, what are the things that I love that refill me as a human being? And so I love reading. So I started a book club. We're now 9 years into this book club together, which is great. Having community discussions, right? Getting together with my neighbors. And then I decided to start this on the water networking. I love being around water, on the water, in the water. So I was like, and I love having conversations with entrepreneurs. So why not combine those two things, right? We live in Colorado where we don't have big bodies of water, but we do have reservoirs that we can paddleboard in. And so I started just inviting my network to come out and paddleboard with me. And so now we're in the 8th or 9th season doing it.
It's just great. It's just so great. Yeah, I'm the same way. For me, when I start my day, when I think about my week, I put in my fun time first, my joyful times first. And for me, it's tennis twice a week and duplicate bridge, once a week. And so I put those in first. And then my lunch is really important for me, so because it's the time when I can enjoy my food. I have a housekeeper who cooks for me. I'm, fortunate to live in Mexico and be able to do that. And so I just, it's so important.
It is. And you have to put them on your calendar first. Otherwise they don't happen, right?
I know.
The day goes away.
Those white spaces fill up fast.
Yes, they do. Yes.
You mentioned Eleanor Roosevelt as someone you'd love to spend an hour with.
Yeah.
What would you ask her, and how do you carry forward, her great spirit in your leadership? Because she was spirit.
She was a very big figure and a polarizing figure at the time, right? But she really knew how to be an advocate for the causes that she was empowered around, right? So workers' rights, women's rights, back in the day. And she was married to the most powerful man on the planet, right? So how did she kind of stay behind the scenes and help her causes, and then celebrate those causes when came about, when change came about? And so I really just admire her, the way that she was able to bring communities together. She invited regular people to come for dinner at the White House. So they didn't have, they could be the people that took their lunch in a lunch pail, right? But then they got to come to dinner at the White House and have regular conversations with the president and the first lady. Wow. And so that's one of the things I admired about her when I read her biography, was just, she really was about bridging gaps and building communities, and then using her power to help those communities get what they needed. Right. So she would be incredible.
She was working with a lot of adversity, if I remember, right?
She did. Yes. Yeah. But and she helped her husband, right? She really helped her husband run the country, and helped him get through some adversity. And then, she was, again, polarizing. Not everybody liked her at the time, but she knew what she believed in and the people that she wanted to support. And she did everything in her power to help those people. So I just really admire her for that.
A real first lady, as far as
yes. Yes. Yeah.
I'm not going to go there, but yeah.
Right.
Can you share a time when you were spinning your wheels in business, and what shifted, when you finally embraced maybe clarity and connection?
Yes. I have a Pinnacle Gift statement that I teach a course called Pinnacle Gift, and And in there, I wrote my pinnacle gift statement in 2015 before I started the coaching business. And it really does help me when I find myself kind of spinning out of control or potentially doing things that aren't in my giftedness or aren't in alignment with who I am and how I'm supposed to show up.
Mhm.
I read that. I read at least once a month. It's on my calendar on the 9th because my birthday's on the 9th. So every 9th of the month, I read this pinnacle gift statement.
Great
And
idea. Yeah.
it really does help me stay grounded. And if I start to find myself spinning out of control, which happens in business, right? Because there's no shortage of ideas or things that we could be doing with our business, right? Oh, I should be trying this. Now I should be trying YouTube. Now I got to make videos and a podcast and all these things, right?
How you can get out of
And
spinning
so
your
it can
wheels.
get overwhelming
Yeah.
really, really quickly. And so I go back to my pinnacle gift statement and I read it and it's like, am I in alignment with this? This is who I am and how I should show up in the world. Am I in alignment with that? And it really does help anchor me and ground me and help me make decisions. For example, I am a leader, right? If I show up in a group, I'm going to end up in a leadership role of that group. It's just who I am and how I show up.
Mhm.
So that really helps me. Having that knowledge about myself helps me know that maybe it's not a right group for me to go into if I don't feel like I can be a leader in that group, right? Or some leadership role. Or even with my clients, it helped me to shift from the doer in the virtual assistant business into the coach, right? Because I want to be more of the leader, more of the thought partner, more of the strategic thinker, and not the doer of the business, right?
Right.
So,
You're the visionary. Yes, definitely.
yeah. So that really helps me to stay in that role and not move into I'm going to be the doer all the time, right? So
There's
I
enough
can be the doer, but it doesn't mean I should be the doer. Right?
Exactly. There's enough doers anyway. You can
Yes.
always find the doer. Wow. I was admiring you. You mentioned a book, Profit First by Mike Michalowicz, I think is
Yes.
his name. You said that was a game changer for you. What's one concept from that book that you believe every woman entrepreneur must implement?
Yes. I love that book. And I had the book for 5 years. It sat on my, bookshelf because it was one of those must reads, everybody must read. And I never read it. And then it kept popping up again. And so when did I implement that? In 2021,
Mhm.
I finally pulled the book off my bookshelf and read it. And it made total sense. And so I was able to implement those theories. But really, the concept is you as the entrepreneur need to manage the money that comes through your business. You need to tell your money what to do and how to work for you. And you can put a system in place. It's a little bit, of work to put it in place. But basically, you're telling your money to go into your income account, your tax account, your profit account, your owner's pay account, or your expenses accounts. And so you just divide your money up into those accounts, and then it does what it's supposed to do for you. So it really is such a simple process once you get it implemented, but it was a game changer because I paid myself more regularly twice a month. So I doubled my pay because before I was paying myself from whatever was left, if
Right.
there was anything left. So
Exactly.
now I set aside money to pay myself, right? I have money set aside for taxes. I have money set aside for profit. So I get a dividend every quarter from my business. It really does shift not only how your bank account looks, but how your mindset looks. Like I am a profitable business that pays myself an income, right?
Wow.
So no matter if that's $50 or $500 or $500,000, right? The system can work, and it shifts that mindset from I'm a profitable business and I know what my money is doing in my business to I'm looking at my bank account guessing, right? So just gives you the clarity.
Nobody goes there, or very few people go there, especially women.
Yeah.
Money, many of us have stigma about money. Money doesn't grow on trees, all that stuff that was stuffed into us when we were younger. And so
Yes.
that is, I'm going to have to read that book.
Yes, it's a great book, and he's got a great sense of humor. He writes with a great sense of humor and lots of stories, but the system itself it's not complicated, and you're like, well, how can that work? And every one of my clients that's implemented it talks about not only the money shift, but the mindset shift that comes with I'm in control of how my money works in my business,
And
right?
it's
And
so
that's
important. I mean, it's so important. It's the
Mhm.
basis of business. I mean, we kind of ignore it. We kind of look the other way. It's like, well, maybe,
Right.
you know,
Right. Maybe next month will be better, right? Or whatever. Next
right.
year will be better. But yeah,
Um,
when you actually know where your money's going and what's happening with it in your business, it can be a game changer for you. It certainly was for me. I moved both of my businesses into that system, and it's just been amazing. And my clients that I recommend, there are coaches that can help you with that. You can go to his website, profitfirst.com, and get all of the resources and everything. But it's a great book, game changer for business owners, I think.
wow, that's so good. I mean, it's so important. So this is part of your mindset with your clients for sure.
Yes, yeah. And I really work around the strategies and tools, helping them get clear on what they want to do with their business. And then let's put the strategy and tool together. So like Profit First is just a tool that I suggest to my clients
Hmm.
to help them with their mindset and help them manage their money. Right. So I, in the 10 years or 11 years, I've been running businesses now, 12 years since I left the firm. It really, I've learned so much about the tools. And yes, I've learned some mindset shifts. I don't call myself a mindset coach because I really do like the strategy and tactics piece of running a business. But there are mindset pieces that come with that I've learned over the years in my own personal development and running businesses that I can share with my clients.
Yeah, and I always think of Tony Robbins, who says, business is 80% mindset and 20%,
Yeah,
strategy
tactics. Yeah.
and
Hmm.
tactics. Wow. And yeah, you've built something deeply personal yet scalable, isn't it? I mean, what could you say to the woman listening right now, or definitely on the replay, who is waiting for the perfect time to start?
Yeah.
The
I
perfect,
say,
waiting for the perfect time to start.
I know. Set the date. That's one of my favorite
Uh,
mantras that I tell my clients, right? If
set
you want to do something, anything, set the date. When I wrote both of my books, I set the date for the party. Once I kind of had the outline of what I was going to write the book about, right? So, but I hadn't really started fleshing out the ideas. But I was like, okay, here's when I want to have my book launch party, the celebration, right? I started with the celebration. That drove me backwards, right? So here's the date I need to have the book in hand so that I can have it at the party. Then I knew I needed to go backwards from that date. So setting the date kept me on track. Otherwise, it would be like someday I'm going to write a book or someday I'm going to finish that book, right? But I knew parties and celebrations are important and bringing community together, right? So I knew if I set the date, booked the place, and then I would have to go backwards and meet all those deadlines to be able to have the book at the party. And for
Otherwise,
both,
you'd be
I did
embarrassed.
the day before the party, but I had it at the party for both things. So, right, so
Wow. Did it ever happen that you didn't meet the date? And then what did you do at that point?
sometimes it does happen where you might have to move a date, but I really, I'm an accountability person at
Mm.
heart, right? So if I tell myself I'm going to do it, that integral part of me says, okay, we're going to make it happen. It might all happen in the 2 weeks before the deadline, but it will happen before the deadline, right? And in my accountability groups, I experience that as well. And I tell people they feel bad. They're like, oh, I just did this right before we got on our coaching call or right before we got on the accountability call. It's like, I don't care when you got it done, you got it done, right? So if you had 2 weeks to do it and you did it the hour before we met, you got it done,
And then
right?
celebrate that because that's a
Right.
win.
Celebrate it. It's a win. You got it done. I don't care if you waited 2 weeks to get it done and you did it right before we
Yeah.
met. So I'm all about accountability, but having that line in the sand, if you will, or that date on the calendar to really make something happen and take some actions toward your dream of making something happen.
Yeah, it's all about implementation. I mean, just thoughts without action get nowhere.
Right. Yeah.
So,
And I heard this phrase many years ago and I went and bought the URL for it. I don't know if I'll ever do anything with it, but action creates clarity. And I love that phrase. It's so true, right? We need to know the direction we're going. We need to have an idea of our goals, right? But then taking action will help you clarify, am I in the right direction? Is this the right step for me? Do I need more resources? Do I have the right team in place? Do I, still want to do this? But if you keep taking action, then that will help you gain clarity, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you're still on the right
And it
path.
helps you move the needle too. I mean,
Yes.
you just have to do that every day, even if it's the smallest step.
Right. Right.
And then we have to celebrate it
Yes.
so that we can have joy in our life every
Yes.
day.
Yes.
If you could leave our audience with one powerful truth, something that lives in your bones and fuels everything you do, what would that be?
It would be to find the celebration, find joy in every day. I've had some hard days in my life, as has everybody out there. Life happens to us. I believe that life is a pendulum. We have to have the sadness so that we can experience the joy, right? But there's always, even in the darkest, the deepest, saddest days, we can find something to celebrate. So finding that small thing to celebrate and acknowledging that, and then find the joy in every day. So
Absolutely, and being grateful for finding it, for taking the time to look for it and finding it, I think.
Yes.
So, Mary, is there anything that we haven't covered that, about your business, about your books? Oh, I just want to bring attention to the call to action buttons here. To left over here.
Yeah.
The middle button is if you want to connect with Mary. Actually, if you were to click connect with Mary, it would just take you to another page. It wouldn't take you away. You could even do this now, even in the replay, and connect with Mary. It'll take you to her LinkedIn. And the bottom CTA button where it says Success Magnifies is all about your website. So
Perfect. Wonderful.
there's you can visit her website. And the great news about this platform, the reason I like this platform is that the CTA buttons are live for the replay.
Nice. Very nice. I like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I do too. And I like Zoom, but Zoom doesn't have those CTA buttons, and I like those CTA buttons.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I don't like to take the time and say, oh, I'm going to put it in the chat or I'm going to put it in the comment,
Right.
Just immediately you're hearing us talk. So let's do it. Mary, this has been such a gift. You remind us that joy isn't a luxury in business. It's a necessity. Mm-hmm. And that, clarity isn't found in the hustle. It's found in the connection, isn't it?
Yes.
And every woman deserves to leap into her purpose, knowing she doesn't have to do it alone.
Yes. There are many women out there and men ready to help support us in our journey as business and as just joyful human beings.
I love it because your heart, your humor, your soul, deep wisdom it's really contagious.
Yes.
And I know that every listener, you're going to walk away today a little lighter, a little braver, and a whole lot more inspired. So
set that date. Take the leap. Take that action.
And also click those CTA buttons. Successmagnified.com is her website. Pick up her book, tune into her podcast, and find your tribe and leap for ladies. Because success isn't about the grind, it's about the glow. And Mary Gaul, thank you for reminding us how to shine and how to have a good time in business.
Yes, you're so welcome, Lucie. Thank you for having me on your show.
You're very, very welcome. And to my audience, I'll see you next week for another awesome Lucie's Inspiring Stories. Bye for now.